Hi, thanks for tuning in. Considering a UROLIFT, well, I had a UROLIFT about 2.5 years ago, and I've learned a few things I wish I knew before I had the procedure. And you might find some of the things that I've learned useful in your decision-making process. First, make sure you rule out sleep apnea as a potential source of late night frequency. If you have sleep apnea, and even if you get the URLIF and suffer from extreme BPH, you're going to probably have little to no improvement. If you do, it will probably be short term. I had maybe slightly improved nighttime frequency for about 6 months, and then after that, it's as though the URLIF never occurred. I afterwards, and so after 6 months, I wasn't having any relief from the UroLift. I took a look at my snoring habits, had a sleep study done, and turned out I've been dealing with sleep apnea for probably about 10 years. I got a CPAP machine, and first night I used the CPAP, 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. And that hadn't happened for me in at least 10 years. It was a game changer for a good 2.5 years for me. And then the other aspect that you have to consider when looking at a UroLift, what is the size of your prostate at the time you're considering the procedure? I think the average prostate is about 25 to 35 grams. They say about the size of a walnut. The UroLift, at least a couple years ago, when I had it, the maximum size, effective size was about 80 grams. I think recently the FDA cleared it or approved it for up to 100 grams. And that's pretty big prostate. And then you also have to evaluate whether or not you're using finasteride at the time and if you intend to stop using finasteride after the procedure. Finasteride, in the best case scenario, based on my experience and research, can reduce the prostate size by about 20%. So, what is your actual prostate size, and what could your prostate size be if you stop taking finasteride? So, at about the time of my UroLift, I was right there at the cusp. I was at initial estimate about 80 grams. And then later, when I talked to my urologist, he said, well, you were probably closer to 100. And if you are at or near the maximum size, 80 or 100 grams, you've got to think twice about whether you want to do the UroLift, because one thing that's certain, research shows that the prostate keeps growing. Ended up being a bust for me, didn't really work, but for a few months. And I think that was just timing. I felt a little bit misled by my urologist that he probably underestimated the size to justify the procedure. I reached out to a different urologist and learned about PAE. It's a prosthetic artery embolization, where in short, they slow down or stop the blood supply to the prostate arteries. And as a result, over time, the prostate begins to shrink in about 90% of the patients and could result in as much as a 40% reduction in the size of the prostate. The procedure, despite being more complicated and taking longer than the UroLift, was a much more palatable procedure than was the UroLift, even though that procedure is only about 30 minutes. To me, it was agonizing, and then recovery with a catheter for a couple of days, whereas no catheter was needed with the PAE. So it's early yet for my PAE. So far, so good. Thumbs up. But I don't know what the efficacy of it is yet. But should it significantly reduce the symptoms associated with BPH, I'll do another video to let you know. Anyway, I hope this information I provided to you is helpful and helps you make an informed decision whether or not the UroLift is right for you.